Hello and welcome to Learn TV channel. My name is Angela and I will be your host for this broadcast. Today we will present one of L3RN's expert trainers, Abdullah Altuwaijri, who holds a master's degrees in teaching English and a PhD in instructional systems technologies from Indiana University, Bloomington. Abdullah is certified from Stanford, London Business School and London School of Economics. He currently leads his unit activities into enabling the Saudi workforce to upgrade its level for carrying on the Saudi vision. He is a passionate EdTech integrator and very active in the domains of human enablement and employment innovations. Abdullah, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you as our guest.
Thank you, Angela, and thank you, Learn TV channel. I'm really happy to be here, and I hope I could be of value to you guys.
There is a quote saying, "The secret to great customer experience is a great employee experience." While that's still important and will continue to be, motivation is a finite resource. In fact, employees can still be engaged in their work but fail to live up to their potential. Let's start with a definition. What is employee enablement and why is it so important nowadays?
So let me start by talking about the job market and the current changes in the workforce globally and regionally here. There's a lot of forces at play that are requiring a lot of people, especially workforce who are either entering or recently entered the job market to adapt to a lot of changes, a lot of dynamics and processes that wasn't really that much familiar before. And for them to be successful and for them to be positively contributing to their role, they need to be enabled not only to achieve their own role, but also contribute to the greater society. And from that perspective, enablement goes the extra mile beyond empowerment and providing direct support. Enablement focuses in what is the hidden aspects that the immediate cause of productivity, creativity, innovation and then working on them to make sure they are surfaced, they are taken care of, and they are considered in the long-term planning for the employee career ladder and for company development and progress and for the society in general.
What is the difference between enablement and empowerment?
So in a sense, enablement and empowerment tend to aim for the same result. However, the way they are approaching that objective or that result is different. Empowerment comes from a stand of that I know an individual X needs tools 1, 2, 3 and knowledge XYZ and support team, you name it. And you provide these things and you let them figure out how to deal with it, how to use it, how to interact with it, and how to turn it into their own favor. Enablement goes the extra mile, where not only providing the thing that an individual or a company needs, but rather into helping them and thinking with them into how to use these things and what are the best approaches, what are the risks involved, what are the unintended consequences, and how we can consider them and account for them when we are engaging in using these resources and tools and activities.
Can enablement occur only at the individual level or at other levels as well?
Well, enablement is a broad concept. It comes in different shapes and format and levels. It can start from the very low beginning of the matrix, from the individual all the way to the community, to the society, to the nation. Enablement tend to focus on where it contributes its most outcomes and how to reach the best outcomes at any different levels. At many cases, we would be working at multiple levels. So we would be working at an individual level, and at the same time, we would be working at the group and the society level. And these tend to be interconnected in an ecosystem that reads and writes from the different levels that we are working on. For example, in an instant where we're trying to enable an individual to achieve a certain new role in a new economy that the country is exploring, for example, entertainment, like here in Saudi, we would take care into consideration how the individual is being enabled from the understanding of the new sector, the understanding of the economy, its culture and different traits. And at the same time, we would be trying to reflect the perspective that comes from the individual level into the societal level and the economy level itself by ensuring that the expectation, the behavior, the set of rules and policies and procedures take into consideration the new entrance into that sub-economy.
What examples of employee enablement can you provide for our audience?
That's a very good question, and thank you for asking me, because it's really important to put things into actual real-life examples. So, for example, here in Saudi, we are trying to enable a lot of female Saudis to enter the job market. And we have done our research and analysis, and we know that the female workforce in Saudi who are either about to enter the job market or just enter the job market don't lack the skills or the capability or the grit or the resourcefulness to be an active member of the workforce. However, how the economy and the procedures that's happening in the work or in the labor force here in the labor market, in Saudi Arabia, tend to have been created with a certain priority or a certain expectation in mind. And part of the enablement that we are working on, and we have done for several years, and we are so proud of, is coming up with a solution for the transportation from home to the office and back home for females who are at the early stage of their career, who wants to be part of the workforce, but for many reasons either cannot buy a transportation mean or cannot afford it at the time being. So we designed a solution with our friends at HRDF, where the government is basically subsidizing that transportation fee with our partners from Careem, Uber, for the journey from home to office and back. And that solution actually is necessary for ensuring that the extra burdens that the employee have, in addition to their immediate work, is taken care of. And that kind of enablement is what we're trying to achieve here in Takamol. We always think of the ecosystem. We think of how we take away any hurdles, challenges, issues that faces the workforce in Saudi to ensure that their full cognitive and mental capability is geared toward what we are really trying them to achieve through the vision and our national transformation program.
How to measure and improve employee enablement?
In this regard, measuring the employee enablement has to come from different stakeholders. In many situations where enablement is being conducted, it tends to be done in a closed rooms with only the managers or the directors or the business owners. The way we're approaching it here in Takamol is that we always try to bring the end user voice into the equation, and that's the beneficiary, the person who's being enabled, or the group who are being enabled, or the sector, by having representatives to come in and share their thoughts. Measuring that enablement comes in different formats. We do it by looking into the contribution of that individual in their immediate role in their company. If we are working at the individual level, if we are working at a company or a sector level, for example, we are working on enabling the entertainment sector here in Saudi, and one way to ensure a positive ROI for our engagement and our enablement in the sector is by looking at the GDP contribution of the sector in the country, by looking of the number of entrants who are entered that job sector and sustain their job within that economy. There's there's a saying by Peter Senge in his book Organizational Development, where he considers the aspect of fractal points, and those points are the areas in any system, whether it's organizational, societal, economical, and focuses on that these points are where usually we drop the ball, that we would do a great job from designing, implementation, operating, all the way to evaluation. But there are these points where a certain extra mile, a certain additional surface or thinking is needed, but it's not happening. And that's where enablement has to come in and focus.
Abdullah, what are the skills needed in the process of enablement?
Well, Angela, there's a bunch of skills that are considered either like core skills and auxiliary skills when it comes to enablement. But one of the things that tend to be overlooked is the skill of being able to understand the culture, the trait, and the personality of the idea or the person or the society we're trying to enable. When it comes to enablement, you need to be able to discern what is actually being needed to be enabled and what that must be enabled. There are different levels of enablement that we need to consider. You need to be very careful when creating the matrix of your impact and value and cost for enabling the individual or the group or the idea that we are working on. One of the most important skills is to be able to consider the risks of the enablement that you are conducting. In many situations, it seems that enablement is the right path to go forward. However, there are unintended consequences that tend to emerge after a while from the enablement that you have done. That's why it's really important to do a deep dive when it comes to conducting an enablement session. Know the full picture, try to see the forest, not just the trees. It's also important to know that when it comes to individual level enablement, there are certain skills that you need to be more focused on. And when you are focusing on societal enablement, that's a whole different set of skills. When it comes to individual level, we tend to know the historical background. We tend to focus on the prior experiences. We need to build on the adult learning theory and try to know what are the assets, the capabilities, the skills, and build on them to ensure success for the next phase. When it comes to societal level, now we're taking it more in a direction of a top-down approach, where we want to see where the country, where the society, where the economy is trying to go. And then we try to distill it into more digestible chunks of changes, amendment, new policies, and then we cascade it on the society through different channels. And these channels tend to be either driven by grassroots movement, where the change or the enablement is needed, or by a decree or a mandate for a new direction that the country or society or a company is going.
What is change enablement and what are its benefits?
Change enablement is an extension of change management. So it's probably good to talk about change management for a bit. Change management tend to focus on the idea of introducing a new policy, a new culture, a new idea into the individual level, or into the group level, or even the site level. And what happens in change management in general is that a change is being introduced, and then that change is being left to grow organically within the system or within the individual. In change enablement, we tend to focus on driving that change. So we don't only introduce that change, we don't only leave it and give people the time to think about it, digest it, understand it, and try to find their own way of how to work with it. We go into the extra mile where we sit with the people impacted or the organization impacted by that change. We show them the menu of options, tools, solutions. We show them how that change is going to impact them in the long run, in the short run. We show them the financial impact, the societal impact, the cultural impact, the human capital impact. And then we work with them to enable them to adapt that change in a way that minimize the risks and the consequences of that adoption. And then we work on them into turning it into a more of a core culture into that organization. It's one thing that I really would like to highlight is that in many change enablement initiatives, we tend to delegate the responsibility of implementing and riding that change to the end user. And that tend to be an old approach of delegating responsibility. But basically, I have decided on a solution, I have designed it, and now it's the other responsibility to implement it, take it on themselves, and show me the result. What we do in change enablement is that we don't build the boat, fill it with people, and then let it sail by itself. We sit on that boat, we sail with them, we show them the map, we show them the different lands and the different islands where we were passing through, and we take their feedback. And we go, when we arrive at the next land, and we're about to start a new journey, we change that boat metaphorically, and we work on it to be much more accommodating, welcoming, and more humanized.
Thank you, Abdullah, for your insights and for being a part of our show.
Thank you so much.
Dear viewers, thank you for watching our show. Make sure to follow us so you don't miss our next episodes. You can watch a recording of this broadcast or other episodes on our YouTube and Vimeo channels. And if there is a topic you would like us to prepare for you, feel free to write us a message or a comment, and we will review it with our content team. Until next time, stay tuned.